Welcome back to another episode of Jason's Bricks and 5, where I discuss LEGO content in videos of around 5 minutes. Well, I figured I would take a few minutes and talk about my experience with the UCS Jabba sail barge. This is a set that came out at the beginning of October, and I did purchase this on release day, mostly because of the gift with purchase, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I thought it might be interesting to talk about because not only do I now have this, I have the original Jabba sail barge that came out in 2006. And, it's certainly not the same scale, not the same build, but, I thought it might be an interesting perspective for people to kind of understand, my thoughts about it. And am I happy I bought it? Am I not? We can go ahead and talk about that. So, as I mentioned, I purchased this on release day, and it was $500. Now, I did redeem Lego Insider points, $150 worth, because I'd been saving them for a while. Actually, I've been buying a ton from Lego, really for probably about the last 4 to 6 months. There's been a few things here or there, but the points had built up over time, and so I decided to redeem them because I wanted to get the lightsaber, which I did get. But the build, it was good. It was interesting. A couple of things that did stick out. This was the first Lego set I've had where I had paper bags. Most of them were plastic, but there were a couple of items. Namely, Jabba came in this paper bag, and something else came in the smaller one. I don't remember what it was. So I did have that. And then as far as the set, not everything is printed. There is a small sheet of stickers. There are 10 or 11 stickers on here. A lot of them are, for some different things, like in the kitchen, there's a few things. I think there's some panels on the side where certainly, when you're spending $500, you would prefer to have that in there. A couple of things. I do think it's very interesting how they got this curved front of the ship. The techniques were quite interesting, and, when you're dealing with flat and square pieces, to make things that are rounded is quite a challenge. So I think they've actually done a very good job on capturing the look from that perspective. The scale is large. I mean, you can see that here, but it's fine. It is what it is. The one thing that I think probably bothers me more than anything about the entire build are the sails. They seem really low to me. Like, you can't really put a minifigure up under here. Not that you're going to necessarily be playing with it, but it seems like it should be at least maybe one brick higher, if not two. But, I guess it's not the choice they made. And it does have a full interior inside. Some of the UCS sets we've seen, like the Imperial Star Destroyer, didn't have an interior. The Millennium Falcon has some parts with interior, but others there's not. This one is a full interior, so the panels come down, which interestingly enough is kind of essentially the same technique they used back in 2006. You'll see that in a minute. Let's see if I can get this down here. There we go. And so it reveals the interior. Now you can pull the other side down. However, a lot of it has a wall, so it's really just meant to be displayed on the one side with the panels down, or at least to open and show off. You probably don't want to display it this way. But, you can have where Jabba would sit or Max Rebo would be playing. You've got the little jail. But the problem becomes, okay, if you put them in here, you won't see them while it's on display. So, it's probably something you would put on, you'd look at, and then you put them back on these display stands. So I can certainly see where some people, this just is not a set for them, and that's fine. I'm not going to tell anyone you should or shouldn't buy it. You can make your own decisions. But it is very expensive, but that being said, I mean, everything is more expensive now. So, you get more stuff than you do in the old one, but, it kind of is what it is. As far as the figure collection, so you've got Jabba, and it's a nice molded Jabba. He's got printing on him, which you'll see is not really the case in the old figure. And then you've got a lot of the characters here, and you'll notice as we look at the old one, you're missing kind of a lot of the heroes. And this is one of the points of contention people have, is that you can get the skiff, which was a playset that came out kind of in the same scale to go with this, with the Sarlacc pit and the little skiff. And it's another, I think, 90 bucks, 89.99, something like that. And that turns a lot of people off, and I can certainly understand that. And, you know, I probably feel like there's some obligation to get it to go with the rest of the set, because you'll notice we have C-3PO, R2-D2, and Princess Leia, and no other good guys. You know, no Luke, no Han, no Chewie or Lando in the disguise, no Boba Fett. Boba Fett? Boba Fett! Anyways, you know, you're missing those parts. So I understand people's complaints, and it does kind of bother me. I haven't bought it yet because I'm going to wait and see if I can find it to go on sale somewhere. I'm figuring, you know, if you find it 20% off, pick it up that way. Because it's very expensive, right? When you consider 500 plus another 90 after tax, you're well over $600. So people's complaints certainly are valid, and I can see where a lot of people may not be interested. Now, if we look at the older version, this one is definitely a different market. I mean, it's a play scale. It's swooshable, where this one, not quite so much. You know, and honestly, this was purchased for my son. It was his when he was a kid, and, you know, he did play with it some, but it sat on a shelf a lot because it was one of his bigger sets and, you know, kind of a exciting thing in his collection. But, you know, you've got some neat features with the skiff and the Sarlacc pit in here. I'll be honest, I'm an older Star Wars fan. I remember and prefer the Sarlacc pit before it had the little mouth in there. I like it when it was just a pit with teeth, and, you know, it had the few tentacles, but that's not the direction they chose to leave Star Wars. So, now the part that's interesting on this, you'll notice these come down. So in 18 years, they have not come up with a better solution to get to the interior of the set. You know, and a lot of it's actually the same. You can see Jabba's throne area would be over here. You've got kind of a kitchen area in the middle, and then up at the front, you have kind of the jail. And that's really what the interior of this version shows. This one does have like a cockpit or a pilot area up at the nose, whereas this one doesn't have anything. Another part that's kind of interesting, back in 2006, the way that they got this curve for the nose is actually they used like these boat holes, and these are actually placed upside down. So, you know, I think that was kind of a pretty unique technique, especially back for 2006, you know. So I don't know that it's necessarily as good, but then again, this was $75. Came with the whole crew. I mean, there's less figures overall. There's 8 here and 11 in this set. Plus you get the plaque and, you know, whatever. But, you know, certainly the values here, people can make their decisions on this one. You know, there's display space issues. There's, you know, certainly the budget issues. And then if you do get the skiff, where do you display that? Does it go near it? Does it not? Do you just miss those characters? So I can see where people, you know, would maybe not want to do that. You know, I guess you could maybe build a display stand for the additional figures for the scene. But anyway. Now, interestingly enough, this set, like I said, you're looking at $500 for this, 80 or 90 for the skiff. That setup is actually today less expensive than a new version of this original one. This one, if you want a sealed copy, is going to run you around $700 to $750 is, I think, what it showed on Brickset. You can get a used one for quite a bit cheaper, but then again, you may have, you know, playware, different things like that. Certainly, you know, you can see the difference in quality of, you know, Jabba or the Gamorrean Guard. the different figures. R2-D2 doesn't have printing on the back where he does there. So there definitely is a difference. Princess Leia does not have the biker shorts that people complain about. So, there is that. Overall, am I happy that I got it? When I take into account the entirety of the purchase, I got this. I think there was the other gift with purchase that came with it, the pumpkin my wife wanted. But, just taking into account this lightsaber and this here, this does make a difference for me because I have the other two. So for me, it is something that I'm glad I was able to pick up. For people that, if you were to go out and buy it today, you're not going to get that lightsaber because that's sold out on that weekend. I can see where you would have issues with the value being there, So is this a set that we're going to see maybe next Black Friday discounted like we did with the, the Mandalorian Razor Crest? Maybe. It's hard to say. Lego's done a lot of different things, and it's hard to plan with what they're going to do. But it's not something that I would be shocked about. The build was good. It wasn't my favorite build. Certainly not the worst. The details are nice. It looks good. I'm not upset with the value or anything like that, but I don't know that this is my favorite build. Even my favorite UCS set, I think I have others that I prefer. Like I prefer the Slave 1. I would say, the Shuttle Tideria. I prefer that. So there are others that I think, I would say are more preferred. But I'm not upset that I got it, and I don't feel that, I knew what I was buying and I wasn't taken advantage of or anything. So there you go. That's kind of my simple thoughts, and I don't know if we want to call it a review, but a comparison. If nothing else, it was a good reason to get this down and dust it a little bit because it sits up on a shelf and doesn't get touched much. So yeah, that's gonna do it for just my quick overview of the Jabba sail barge. Let me know, did you pick it up? If you did, are you someone that's happy with it? Do you feel that it wasn't worth what you bought? Or is it something you'd like to get and, maybe, or is it something you're going to pass on? I don't know. Just let me know. Always interested to have those conversations, see what people think. We all make our own decisions, not saying one is right and one is wrong, but we all have to live with what we choose to buy, I guess, or not. So that's going to do it for this episode on Jason's Bricks and 5. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Happy building!